we look at two key issues: the record of Germany's first coronavirus infection and Brexit, the official departure of Britain from the European Union, which should happen on Friday. First, how did Germany detect coronavirus in that country, and how are they dealing with it? Emmanuel Chase is political correspondent with our partners, the DW, and she joins us all the way from Germany. Emmanuel, good to have you once again today. How much do we know about how this infected person was identified in Germany, and which part in specific in Germany?
Well, since yesterday, 4 more cases have been confirmed by the Bavarian authorities, by the German health authorities, and all are linked to this initial case you mentioned. And Germany is so far the only country outside of Asia where the virus spread directly person to person. Now, we found out more about how the infection was spread. A Chinese woman, came from Shanghai, and she was in Germany between the 19th and the 23rd of January. She didn't come directly from the affected region of Wuhan in China. She came from Shanghai, but prior to her stay in Germany, she received some visits from her parents who originate from Wuhan, and that's the way the infection got to Germany in the first place. Now, this woman didn't have any symptoms, and it's only on the way back from Germany in the plane that she started to feel sick, and then when she was handled by the sanitary authorities back to Shanghai, she was diagnosed with coronavirus. So the transmission of the virus is now possible even during the incubation phase, before even any symptoms show.
Wow, that's really scary. But this is Germany's first case. We know that other parts of the country, other parts of the world have also experienced it, even here in Africa. We can talk about Kenya, Cote d'Ivoire, etc. Tell us how Germany is handling this case.
Well, there are sanitary checks being made for people coming from the affected areas in China, in various airports in Germany, in Frankfurt, in Munich, in Düsseldorf, in Hamburg, in Berlin. Pilots are advised to warn airports ahead of landing should any passenger aboard show any symptom of illness. All in all, authorities are fairly well prepared, because even before the outbreak, they were exercising, they were doing simulations, they were taking verifying measures. They reviewed those measures before the first case was even detected, and the Foreign Affairs Ministries issued a travel warning. The decision to repatriate the around 90 German nationals who are in Wuhan at the moment is still pending, though.
What kind of response has this attracted in Germany? Over here, people sometimes make a joke out of it, but at the airport, our authorities are seem to be very strict, checking those who come in. But among the people in Germany, what kind of response has this brought up?
Well, some people are worried, but the government says there's nothing to worry about as of yet. All the people in touch with the woman who was carrying the virus have been isolated. It's around 40 people who are placed under observation. The 4 people infected are being isolated in a Munich hospital. They're being under observation. All of them are awake and responsive. Now, the difficulty is that we need to differentiate those symptoms from those of a regular flu, and flu season has started here, so that's a bit difficult. But so far, health officials don't think that, for example, wearing a face mask is necessary. They do warn that prolonged face-to-face, for example, just 15 minutes of face-to-face contact with someone contaminated would suffice to also be infected. But they say that with normal hygienic precautions, such as washing hands or the regular airing of rooms, this should be sufficient at the moment to prevent the spread of the virus.
Now to our second issue, which has to do with Britain. Now, January 31st will be the official departure of the UK from the European Union. Emmanuel, first of all, what is at stake here?
Well, you know, this week it was the final EU meeting where the United Kingdom was taking part after 45 years of membership. The United Kingdom is due to leave the European Union this Friday at midnight Central European time. That's 4 years since the referendum. And in a few hours, the European Parliament will ratify the withdrawal agreement in a very symbolic, very historic vote. Now, what comes next? Well, the British members of Parliament European Parliament will leave Brussels, and the transition time will begin, and that will be a time during which the negotiations process will start. We are thinking about early March. That's the date that has been talked about. Now both parties are under time pressure. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson said that he will not extend the transition period past December 31st, 2020, and until then the UK will stay in the single market and customs unions, but beyond that date both the European Union and the United Kingdom will have the rest of the year to decide what kind of relationship they want to establish with one another.
And whilst we wait for that kind of relationship to be determined, do we know the sort of agreements that is hoped for on both sides?
Well, what we know is that both parties will seek to get the best trade deal possible. Boris Johnson, the British Prime Minister, is expected to give a speech next week to announce the British negotiating positions. One of the bone of contentions would be the access to fishing waters, for example. But on the EU side, Brussels has some red lines it is absolutely not ready to let cross. The European Union wants guarantees that there will be fair conditions both for EU citizens and for EU businesses, that once the UK will be out of the European Union, they will not lose out, and only then would the European Union agree on a trade deal. Now, the European Union does not have a zero tariffs, a zero quota, or a traditional free trade agreement, for that matter, with any other country in the world. And the European Union's chief Brexit negotiator, Michel Barnier, already warned that the European Union would never compromise on the integrity of its single market.
Entrenched positions, we'll see how it goes at the end of the day. But finally, Emmanuel, looking ahead in Germany, how prepared are German companies for Brexit?
Well, it's pretty much a transition period for everyone this year, and the Director General of the Federation of German Industries, Joachim Lang, warned that the uncertainty surrounding the withdrawal of the UK may be over, but there's still no reason to be relieved, because without an extension of the transition period, there will only be a basic agreement possible, and a hard Brexit at the end of this year is not completely off the table, because 10 months to negotiate is simply too short a time to agree on a free trade agreement. Now, German industry is looking forward to see the start of the negotiations, and for German businesses, the most important now is to see that there will not be imposed any tariffs, any quotas, which should be part of a basic agreement reached by the end of this year. Now, German businesses expect that the European Union will protect the continental businesses if the UK plans to undermine the standards that they had achieved together over the span of 45 years. But if the UK seeks unfair competition against the European Union, then German businesses would expect the European Union to step in and defend them.
Well, thank you very much, Emmanuel, for breaking this down for our understanding. But Friday is just about 2 days ahead of us. We're looking keenly to see how that goes, and also to see how this goes. But hopefully we will stay safe from the coronavirus. Emmanuel, thank you. Emmanuel Chase is political correspondent with our partners, DW. She joined us all the way from Berlin in Germany. You're still here with me, Gifty and up here on the Pulse to stay.